Hello and welcome to this playthrough of Darkest Dungeon, and today we will be taking on the quest Scout Ahead. The estate has remained secret for far too long, thus it was the rightful owner's decision to send you on a mission to scout ahead. Who knew what horrors lurked in the shadows, though? So, this quest requires us to clear rooms to gain XP, so we'll gain 1 XP for every room cleared. And we can leave the dungeon at any point, so of course this is basically just an XP farming quest. And there are 8 rooms, and they are the ones shown by the tokens at the bottom. So this is the basic setup. Here is our dungeon we will be going through. Here are our characters we're playing as. We've got the Highwayman, the Grave Robber, the Occultist, and the Vestal. So here is our party token. So the first thing we need to do before we enter the dungeon is set up our provisions. So we roll 2 of these provision dice for each hero, so that is 8 provision dice. And we have got some bandages, some more bandages, a shovel, another shovel, a torch, and 2 of these DD symbols, which can be used to represent any of the provisions. So these provisions will help us in fending off the dangers of the dungeon as we explore. So we're going to put all of these to one side, because that's what we've got for the entirety of this exploration. So we're just going to place these up here. And now we are ready to head off into the dungeon. So from the entrance here, we're going to head down this passageway towards this room. So when we move down a passageway, we are exploring, and each hero must roll 2 of these exploration dice, which will bring us various hazards. So there are 4 heroes, so it's 8 in total. So let's see what we've rolled. We've destroyed the dungeon already. Okay, so we have 2 blanks, which means those are not hazards. There are no hazards there. 2 traps, 2 hungers, a darkness, and a curio. Okay, so technically these should all be done by players individually, with each player resolving their own, but I'm just playing all 4 characters here, so I'm just going to do them all at once. So the first thing we're going to do is these trap rooms. Well, trap rooms are a nightmare, because they just deal damage to us. So I'm going to use 2 of our shovels immediately to cancel those. Then we have got a curio. So we are going to draw a curio card. And this will be for, we'll say this curio card is for the Highwayman. A stack of literary treasures in an unlikely location, filled with worry and some selfish thoughts. You're relieved to find a trinket. You raise your feet, and your conscience boosted. With your confidence boosted, and your morale lifted. So, he gains a +1 stress. But he's not stressed, so that's fine. However, he does gain a one of these, I can't remember what they're called right now. Merciful. Resolve tested. So his chance of getting a virtue is decreased. Okay, he also gets buffed for 2 turns, and gains a curio, which is accuracy +2 when in the defensive position with the warrior's cap. Okay, cool. And that is that curio resolved. So that did more good than harm, which is always nice. Get rid of that. The darkness, moving down 1, caused the torchlight to go out slightly, so we will allow that to happen. We'll move the torchlight down 1, and then we've got 2 hungers. So we will have these affect the grave robber and the occultist. So each of those will take 2 damage. Okay, so that's that first exploration done. And we are going to move to this room, which is a curio room. In a curio room, we roll the d10, and on a 6 to 10, we get to draw curio, but on a 1 to 5, the room's guarded. So we roll a 4, so we must do battle. Which means we draw one of these room cards from up here, and we draw room 5, the Beacon of Light. Okay, so stressful times, the corridors, 2 dark heroes ending their turn here suffer +1 stress. Beacon of Light, heroes ending their turn here recover 1 stress. Okay, so we need to get that tile, and that is tile number 5. Okay, so here's the best I can do for fitting the whole map in. So let's set up. The grave robber will be here, along with the Vestal, and then we've got the highwayman and the occultist, matching the spaces that we see here. So now we need to draw some enemies. So we have got a brigand fusilier, so he is ranged, so he will go at this end. Stone's track. And we can place him there. Then we have got a Pliskin, which is... So he goes at the start of the Stone's track. So he's going to set up there. Next we have got some maggots. So he will go in the defensive position, which is there. And then the last one is a bone arbalast. We'll go towards the back. He will be in the final spot, which is there. Okay, so let's get the initiative cards. So we'll get these initiative cards. Give them a quick shuffle. Okay, so these are going to tell us what order we activate in. So the first to activate is the heroes. So the highwayman will activate first. Okay, so he's buffed for 2 turns, but he will use 1 action to move 2 spaces forward, getting himself here. And then he is going to use point blank shot in an attempt to hit the, I think he's going to go for the Pliskin, the big snake. So to hit, he needs a 9. To crit, he normally would need a 1, but the darkness, the torchlight, is down by 1, so he gains +1 to his crit chance, and he's buffed twice for 2 turns, so he needs a 3. And he gets a 1, that's a critical hit, which is 15 damage to the Pliskin. It's got 9 health and no defense, so he literally just obliterates that Pliskin with 1 shot. Okay, nice, that was a good result. So we draw our next initiative card, and it is the heroes again, which means it's the grave robber's turn this time. Oh, the highwayman is actually knocked back 1 space on the stand track. His point blank shot forces him back into the defensive spot. So the grave robber is now actually in the attacking spot, the offensive spot. So she's going to use movement to go 1, 2 to here. And then she is going to use the ability Pick to the Face. So, her accuracy is 9, and her crit value is 1, so it's 2 because of the torchlight. She rolls a 2, so she gets a crit as well. Wow, we're off to a flying start here. So that's 7 points of damage to the maggot, which kills it. Okay, nice, very, very good. Okay, then we've got the initiative of the monsters now, so they finally get to make a turn. So it's going to be the Bone Arbalast. So let's have a look at what the Bone Arbalast does. So based on his position in the stance track, he will use Quarrel. So he's actually going to shoot at the person furthest away. I don't think he necessarily moves. So yeah, he's going to shoot at the occultist, if I'm reading that correctly. So he needs a 9 to hit, and he crits on a 2. Oh, he gets a 2 as well, so he crits, and he does 8 damage to the occultist. So the occultist takes 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. And he's already actually taken 2 points of damage from that trap earlier. So he's on 10 damage. That one shot has resulted in him having 0 health, which means the occultist gets a death's door die, so he could die immediately before even out of this first room. So next is another enemy activation. So that will be the Brigand Fusilier. And he is going to use Blanket Fire, which he will try and target the space with the most heroes, but as they all only contain 1, he will just shoot the person right in front of him, which is the Grave Robber. So the Grave Robber is here, and the Brigand Fusilier is going to take a shot at her from his space. He rolls a 4, which thankfully is not a crit, but it does do 2 damage to the Grave Robber. And it also debuffs her for 2 turns. Right. So now it is the occultist's turn. So the first thing the occultist has to do is roll his death's door die. See if he survives. He does, just. So he's okay for now. So what is he going to do? He really needs to heal up, which unfortunately he cannot do. So he is going to move 2 spaces, 1, 2, into here with the Bone Arbalast, and then he is going to use a Sacrificial Stab. So it's an 8 hit, 2 to crit, 6. So he does hit. Dealing 5 damage. Does he have any armor? No, he doesn't. So it's 5 damage onto the Bone Arbalast. And then next is the Vestal. So the Vestal, she only moves 1, which is unfortunate. But luckily, she can move 1 space to there, and she is then going to, as this is all 1 space, she is going to use Divine Grace on the occultist. So Divine Grace hits on a 12, crits on a 3. So she rolls a 5, which allows her to heal 3 damage from the occultist. Oh, who is over there? So he goes down to 7 damage, and he is no longer at death's door. And then Our next two cards would be enemies, but they are both dead. So those are removed from the game. And we move on to round 2 of this combat. Okay, so going first is a hero, which is the Grave Robber. Okay, the Grave Robber is going to use Throwing Dagger. So she's going to try and use Throwing Dagger against the Bone Arbalest. Oh no, she can't. She's not in the right space. Damn. Okay, well that's fine. She will... So the Grave Robber's going to move into here. And she is going to use Pick to the Face against the Bone Arbalest. Let's see if we can get another crit. Oh, we can. Oh, but she's debuffed. So she doesn't get the crit, but she does hit. And that hit does 4 damage to the Bone Arbalest, who has already taken 5 damage. He's got 11 health, so he is still alive. And that's her done. So we then go on to the enemy activation. So it would be the Bone Arbalest's turn to activate, and the Bone Arbalest shoots at whoever is furthest away. So he will be shooting at the Vestal. And with a 10, unfortunately for him, he misses. So bad luck for him. Next to activate will be the Highwayman. So the Highwayman. Okay, so he's not in the right space to use point blank shot. So I think the best thing we can do with the Highwayman is he's going to move 2 spaces to here. Then he will use Duelist's Advance. Which is a pretty nifty little ability. So he does 9 to hit. So we roll this die. Oh, he gets a 1. So that's a crit. And it does 8 damage to the... So he dashes in here and stabs this guy for 8 damage, which is a kill. So he just wiped him out straight away. And he gets 2 turns of riposte. Let's go with that. But that would be his... buffs will be gone now. Okay, so the next one to activate, well, he's just died, so it won't be the Fusilier. It will instead be the Occultist. And the Occultist... yeah, the Occultist is just going to go for the kill. So he will use Sacrificial Stab again. And with a 2, that's a crit, which takes him out. And that's the end of the fight. Wow, we got through that really quick. Literally did that in 2 rounds. So, back to the dungeon exploration, we draw a curio card. A strongbox. A long-forgotten strongbox sits on the coalstone floor, brimming with coins and provisions. You place them in your bags only to discover that they are coated with poison. Cursing this devilry, you resolve to continue your adventure. Okay, so we get to pick who interacts with this. So we're going to say the Vestal. So she gets one of these. She is anemic, so when she gets a bleed token, it lasts for 3 turns. Not ideal. She also gets a disease. I believe that's when she gets pushed back, she gains 2 stress. We gain 10 coins, which I will just add to the gold stack, and then we get to roll a provision die. So let's see what provisions we get. We get some bandages. Like, we don't have enough of those. And that's the first room done. So we're going to head this way around here, and by the time we get to this room, we'll see what kind of state we're in and whether we want to just flee the dungeon. So we're going to move towards this room, so we have to do our exploration again. So let's see what we find. Oh god, that's a lot of hunger. Unfortunately, we don't have any food. So, oh, it's a lot of torchlight as well. Jeez, that's terrible. Right, so... we've got 1 food. Notice that we have 1 food, so we can discard that. We will use a torch, and we will convert this DD to be a torch. So we can ignore 2 of those. Now, can't ignore this, so the light will move down 1. And, oh, right, so we're going to split these. So the hunger can go to the highwayman, who will suffer 2 damage. So that's 2 damage on the highwayman. 2 damage on the grave robber. The Vestal will take the damage from the trap, or potentially take the damage from the trap. So when a trap is triggered, you roll a die and it hits on an 8 and it crits on a 2. Thankfully it wasn't a crit, but it was a hit, so she takes 2 damage. That's 2 damage on the Vestal, and then the occultist will take a curio. So what have we got this time? Bookshelf. A bookshelf full of old leather-bound books. As you reach out for a big tome, a sharp ornament falls and slashes your hand. An intense pain rushes through you, only to be washed away by your renewed vigour. Okay, so he takes a stress. He takes one of these cards. So if he gets critted, he gets stunned. He also gains bleeding. 1 bleeding for 3 turns. So he's bleeding, but he also gains one of these good affliction cards, evasive. So when he dodges, he reduces stress. That's quite good to know. And that's the trap, the curio, that's all of that done. So that's the exploration done. So let's see what's in this room. And it is a dark room, so the darkness ticks down 1 more. Okay, so we're getting battered pretty bad by a lot of this stuff. So we're going to use bandages to fix the bleeding for the occultist. So we're going to spend this bandages provision, which allows us to get rid of bleeding. And then what we're going to do is scout. So when we scout, every hero has to take a stress. But we get to flip these adjacent rooms, so we know what's going to be in the next room. So we know it's going to be an empty room. That's really good, because that room is empty, which means we will automatically clear it, so we definitely want to go that way. And because we scouted, each hero only rolls 1 of these exploration dice instead of 2. So that's a lot better for us. So what do we get? We've got hunger. We've got hunger again. Always starving these. Hero party are always hungry. And then we've got rubble, and we have got a blank, so that is nothing. Right, we're going to have to take a fair bit of damage here. So we will take the hunger on the highwayman, so he will take 2 more points of damage. The rubble is not so bad. It's 1 point of damage and 1 point of stress. So the grave robber can take that, and then the last bit of hunger can go on to the Vestal, who she can take 2 damage, no problem. Okay, and that's us moved to there, and we clear that. So we've now cleared 3 rooms. So that gets us 1.5 XP. I think we're just going to go for 2 XP and then get out of here, if I'm honest. So what we'll do is we'll scout again, because nobody's taking a lot of stress. We're just taking a fair bit of damage. So everybody takes another stress, and we get to flip this room. Okay, it's a trap room. Okay, that's nice and easy to clear. So we roll our 4 dice. What have we got this time? So we've got a curio, a blank, and 2 traps. Yeah, we're pretty much out of provisions at this point. So the trap, the first one will be against the highwayman. It's an 8, which is a hit, so he takes 2 damage. The Vestal will take the other trap, which is 2, which is a crit, which is 4 damage. Not good for her. And then the curio can go to the grave robber. So what have we got? Iron Maiden. A rusty Iron Maiden stands against the wall, clasped shut. You feel tense as you try to open the devilish contraption. Alas, you pin yourself onto one of the spikes by accident. You curse your luck as you break free, feeling nauseous and sick. So she gains stress. She gains one of these red cards. Okay, so traps are bad for her. Dodges worse. She gains a disease. So she gets Ennui, whatever that is. -1 virtue chance. Okay. And then we move on to that room. She is bleeding as well, but we're going to spend another one of our bandages that we had many of. So that's 4 rooms cleared. So that now has us 2 experience points. So we could leave the dungeon at this point, and I think that's probably the wisest thing to do, as we're not too badly hurt. We've got 2 experience, but we do have a few bits and pieces to heal up. You know, a lot of people are diseased, and we've got the anemic and the blights and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we're going to leave the dungeon. I think that's a pretty good show of various rooms in the dungeon. I did expect there to be slightly more fights than that, but sometimes you get lucky and you don't have to fight much stuff, and you just get what you need and you go. So that's it. We're going to leave the dungeon, and then we will have a look at the Hamlet phase to see how that works. So there we go, quest complete. Right, so here we are in the Hamlet. So the first thing we need to do when we return to the Hamlet is draw a Hamlet event. And that Hamlet event is going to be Caregivers Convention. So this tells us we have 2 days in the Hamlet before we have to go back into the dungeon. So not long to rest at all. So we'll place this token here. When it reaches this space, that's it. It's back into the dungeon. Open your heart to another, united under a common cause. Let your heart not falter. Each hero can remove a quirk for free. Well, that's really good. That's fantastic. So every single hero had 1 quirk, 1 bad quirk from that dungeon battle. So we'll get rid of all those bad quirks straight away. which is pretty much the main thing I was going to spend the whole time here doing, so that's saved us a lot of time. Then next we need to determine where the caretaker will be today. So he's going to be at building number 3, which is the tavern. So the caretaker goes here, so no one can visit the tavern today, which isn't too bad because our stress wasn't too high. So we are going to send... might not need to do too much here. Well, we're going to send the highwayman first to the guild. So let's take a look at the guild a little bit closer up. So the guild is where we can upgrade. So we can upgrade a level 1 hero card for 2 gold and 4 XP, or we can upgrade a level 1 skill card for 2 XP and 1 gold. So everyone got 2 experience in that last game. So we are going to upgrade. So we will take the Duelist's Advance level 1 card that we used, and we're going to upgrade that to Duelist's Advance at level 2. So you can see the difference here is the damage, of course, goes up slightly for hits and crits, but also, perhaps more importantly, which we didn't get to see last time, but he will riposte for 3 turns instead of 2, and riposte is basically every time somebody attacks you, you can make an attack back. That is his day done, and it's cost us 1 of our 10 gold coins. So next we will have, let's see who took the most damage. I believe it was, in the end, it looks like our grave robber was the most injured. So the grave robber's going to go here to the sanitarium, where you can heal 3 for 1 gold, or you can heal 10 for 3 gold. So she took, I believe it was, it looks like 8 damage. So we are going to heal her, spending 3 gold to just heal all 10 and bring her back up to full health. And that's her done for the day. So next we will have the so the occultist is going to go to the blacksmith. At the blacksmith we can use one of the hero skills as its level 2 form for the next quest only. So basically for 1 gold, which we'll spend, so that's 5, that's half of our gold gone, he can now treat one of his level 1 skills as if it was a level 2 skill. So it doesn't really matter which one that is. We'll say it was the sacrificial stab, and that would be him done for the day. And finally is the Vestal. Well, the Vestal is just going to go to... everybody got rid of their quirks, so we're actually in a really good position. I could have stayed and got more experience, really, if I'd known I was going to get that, remove 2 quirks for free. But so the Vestal is going to go to the Survivalists. And the Survivalist is really simple. We just pay 1 gold, and we gain an extra provision die, which would give us a total of 9 provision dice for our next dungeon dive. So that will be the end of our first day, which means everybody comes off the board. This goes down by 1. And now we have to roll for where the caretaker goes. So this time the caretaker goes to number 10, which is the Nomad Wagon. Which is unfortunate because we could have probably bought a relic from there, or rather a trinket. Could have probably bought a trinket from there, but never mind. So the first thing we're going to do is the next most injured character was the occultist, so we're going to send him straight to the sanitarium. And once again we'll have a quick look at the sanitarium. So we're going to heal him 10 for 3 gold, putting him back to full health and leaving us with 1 gold. Which means there's very little else we can actually do here. Because the graveyard, if we look over here, the graveyard would allow us to gain a virtue for the next quest. But unfortunately, the necromancer is the boss who we had in power, so his ability blocks the graveyard off. So there's nothing we can actually do there. So we've got 1 gold left, and I think we are going to send the. We're going to send the Vestal to the tavern. And at the tavern, we can heal stress. So for 1 gold we can heal 3, for 3 gold we can heal 6. So we've only got 1 gold left, so we will heal 3 stress for that 1 gold. And then we've actually got no money left, we're spent up. So that will be the end of the day. The other characters can't do anything. So this would tick down to there, and then that would begin our next dungeon dive. So that is the Hamlet phase. As you can see, it's very, very simple really. There's not a whole lot to it. It's fairly simple shopping experience for this board game, but it's very necessary. It really is just where you really heal up and level up, and that's all there is to it. You can buy these trinkets, but you find them in dungeons anyway. So really the focus here is healing up and efficiently. You're not going to be able to heal up everyone because only 1 character can go to each building per turn. So ideally you'll be able to swap them around and get everyone healed up a little bit, but you're probably going to have to pick who needs it the most each time you come to the Hamlet. And that's it. And that is a quick playthrough of Darkest Dungeon. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it showed you a little bit more about how the game works. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, subscribe, like.